Hello everyone and welcome back to Culz Book Reviews. Today's episode we are checking out I, Jesse James by James R. Ross. Now this is a book that I have owned for a little bit of time now, but we did receive a comment on a previous book review from one Misty James, who is a regular commenter and supporter of the channel. So thank you, Misty. We actually bumped this one up in queue because we saw your comment, and I was like, you know what? We don't do enough Jesse James on the channel, so here we are. We have traveled some of the locations in the book, which is something I enjoy, but let's get into the book. Alright, so we'll start with the cover here. As you can see, we have the title, I, Jesse James, as well as we got a picture here. We got an earlier Jesse James picture, one of probably the most famous ones when he was a young, and this one's one of his older ones. Again, these two probably the ones that pop up the most when you search Jesse James. You got a revolver, some letters, a Confederate flag, and then the author's name, James R. Ross. On the side you also got I, Jesse James, and Dragon Books. Now on the back here you see a drawing of a train, as well as obviously they're going to try to tell you a little bit more about what Jesse and Frank are. Obviously this book being written by family is going to tell you more of that family aspect as far as what they knew. No barcode, but hey, still on ISBN if you guys need it. Now this book clocks in at 280 pages. There is one extra page with pictures of Zerelda there, who is Jesse's mom, as well as Z, who is Jesse's wife. There's lots of great pictures within the book. In fact, when you open it here, you can actually see the James Farm, which we have been to, link above, as well as there's the Jesse James Bank Museum, which you guys can visit. Now as you flip through, you're going to see lots of pictures. There's one of Frank, lots of writing. There's Jesse's death picture. But yeah, there is a good amount of pictures strewn in, or drawings of the different events. There's a young Frank, there's a young Zerelda. Now, I do want to get to the beginning. Oh, there's that famous Jesse James picture, which I'm sure you guys have seen. It's when he was not even 18 years old. He was only 17 when that picture was taken. Now, this shows how the author James Ross is related. You see the James family. So there's the author's family, Jesse Woodson James, Jesse Edwards James, Josephine Francis James, and then James Randall Ross, the author. And then yes, the other pretty famous picture of Jesse James. Alright, so off the bat you might be asking, like, why is it called I, Jesse James? Well, it is actually kind of written first person, or written as if Jesse James is writing this. Now it is written by one James R. Ross, who as you can see in the family tree that we showed earlier, shows how he's related to Jesse James. Now, this book is, it's good, I would say. It's the first time I've read it. Just there's so many books on Jesse James and Billy the Kid, it's hard to get to them all. But for the most part, I would say I'm happy I read it. It is, I would say maybe some people might not enjoy it. It definitely has a more sympathetic look, which really I think kind of balances out our review that we did of the American Experience one earlier in the week, which is very Confederate heavy, and so this one kind of balances that out. And I guess if you guys put the two together, you probably will come to the middle ground, which is probably more or less where the true story is. Much like anything, there's going to be legends and myths built off of it. Now, one thing I did actually enjoy about this, and there's something, one of my favorite movies is The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, and in there they do make the point of, you know, Jesse James, and like the legend he became because of like the pulp books, or just those Western novels that were made about him during his lifetime, and kind of really showed him as a Robin Hood of the West. And much like in that one where it says they're all lies, and here he's like, most of them are lies, you know. Maybe some things happen, but not like, you know, it says in those books. If you guys know the Jesse James lore and mythology, you do see a lot of the big events, I guess, the bullet points, you know, especially once you get to Northfield. You see one of the first daylight bank robberies. If not, it might have been the actual first one. I know when We visited the location, which if you guys stay tuned, we might be having that one. Maybe it'll just be a Jesse James type of week. We see a lot more of the robberies. You see, obviously, his life with Z, as well as his mom, Zerelda, his brother, Frank. Surprisingly, Bob and Charlie, I know they weren't in it for a long time, but their parts are really quite short. So I think something that we were missing from the American Experience one was just more about the robberies and stuff, because there was a couple in there, but it really did focus more on the Confederate side of it, and so this was nice to get the other side, and like I said, put two and two together, and you probably get somewhere closer to the truth, right? Now, there is a character in here called Billy, who goes on and lives the rest of his life, dies an old man, who along with Jesse and Frank escaped Northfield. Now, perhaps I'm just really bad on my lore, but I've not heard of this Billy character, and most of the time it's just Frank and Jesse James getting away. But yeah, this Billy character is actually quite the character. Like, I would say as far as main characters go, you'd see him at least in the top 4 or 5 for sure. Obviously behind Jesse, I think Frank's maybe 2 or 3, and I would say Z and Zerelda. Now, it definitely doesn't go away from any of like the murders that happened during the bank robberies, or even some of the stuff that happened during his ride with the guerrillas and Bloody Bill Anderson. There's definitely some details and you're like, whoa. It's not super graphic though, so if you guys aren't looking for that, you guys should be fine reading this one. But yeah, I think I want to try to do some research, see if there's any other recollections. Now, the author James just put in there as Jesse that his name won't be spoken, so Billy's an alias. Just a pretty common name, which if you're a Billy the Kid researcher, you guys know there's tons of Billy the Kids. We have one in here in Colorado, there's one in Kansas, a couple in New Mexico, I mean, everywhere. Now, something else that I found interesting reading this was a reoccurring dream that Jesse had. Like I said, maybe I just need to do some more research, which is good. Let's open up. I enjoyed diving into this for a plethora of reasons. I love history and stuff like that, but Jesse having a reoccurring nightmare being shot in the back and letting it happen. Towards the end, he thinks Charlie's going to be the one that does it, but then, Robert Ford does it, and he explains that's why he took off his guns, and, they'd never do it with his guns on, which is definitely something I was wondering, not from reading this book, but even if you watched our Monday episode, I said that, I just found it strange that he just took off his guns, he stood on a chair in a room that really didn't need to be stood, like, it's not tall. There's a link above if you guys want to go check out our video inside that house in St. Joe where he was killed. The roof isn't very tall, so that one always kind of led me to believe that, yeah, maybe he did let himself get shot there. And of course there's all the rumors of his survival. It doesn't touch upon any of that here because this book does go very much in line with what we believe, which is he was killed by Bob Ford on that day, April 3rd, 1882, in St. Joe. And yeah, at some point we'll have to touch those. They're not like the Billy the Kid ones, especially like, say, J. Frank Dalton. I mean, we have DNA, we have photo evidence of his death, and it's just very, very much different. J. Frank Dalton, who took his alias from another person, Frank Dalton, actually couldn't fit in Jesse's boots. His feet were too big. So there's a lot of evidence there. But yeah, this if you guys know the bullet points of Jesse James, it does go into it. It is written firsthand. How much of it is true, I don't know. But James Ross says these are stories that were passed down to him or passed on to him from Billy, who died in 1936. So if you guys were putting 2 and 2 together, it's not Billy the Kid from New Mexico. But yeah, overall, I think I enjoyed it. It's a fun read, and honestly, we got to get to more of these Jesse James ones. We've only done one other one on the channel, and that was Shot in the Back by William Johnston, which is a very fictionalized story of J. Frank Dalton. It's a fun read, though. You guys should read it if you haven't. And I think I'd recommend this one. I'd say probably about a 7.5 out of 10. It's definitely worth the read. It's entertaining. It'll keep you hooked. And it never really felt, you know what, we'll raise it. We'll give it a 7.9 out of 10. Because it's almost that 8. Just at times maybe, I don't know. At times maybe just missed just something. But it is good. It will keep you entertained, and it will give you the story. Like I said, probably a familiar tint to it, a more sympathetic look than some of the other books. I mean, there's books that just demonize Jesse James. So, something I've said before, much like when you're researching any topic, try to read as many sources as you can, because I feel like somewhere, once you get all the information together, you'll find something closer to the truth. We did that with Billy the Kid. We researched all his stuff. We read, obviously, all the Billy the Kid books, but as well as we read Brushy Bill. There's a couple of his, and found one of John Miller. But yeah, always try to do your research and find something in the middle. This one's good. Got lots of good pictures, lots of good detail, and hey, I recommend it. I love the cover too. It's a great cover, and yeah, we'll definitely be getting to more Jesse James here soon. This upcoming month is kind of booked as far as topics, but we'll get back into Jesse James. Maybe we'll try to tie some stuff up into the bigger events that happen, the bigger bank robberies, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, once again, we just want to say thank you to Misty James for bumping this one up in the queue. As I mentioned earlier, I did have this one, but it was because of the comment that we got that I wanted to move it up. We always love checking out books that you guys recommend, and please, if you guys have more, tell us in the description below. But until next time, guys, for more Culz book reviews, click that link to your left. For more about us here at Culz Paranormal, click that link to your right. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a subscribe. And let us know, is there a Jesse James book you want us to check out? Tell us in the comments below.